go to. I've been taken off of the YouTube last week.
Did you?
Yeah, so it'll be on Rumble this.
That's a badge of honour.
Isn't it though? Yeah. Lucky me.
I got up to 30,000 subscribers in about 3 months last year, and then the channel got taken down like
No.
mid live stream. Yeah.
30,000. But anyway, people will find you wherever they are. So I'd love to just introduce you. And all I know really, I met you in Birmingham a couple of weeks ago. But obviously I knew of you before. And how I described you today was truther, poet, and entrepreneur. What order should that be in?
I don't know. I mean,
you've been a poet for years, I mean.
I've been a truther for years and a poet for years and an entrepreneur for years. I'm trying to think which came first.
Anyway, your presentation in Birmingham was amazing. I mean, really, really good. The day was much more than I expected it to be. Yeah, with the different speakers and that, but how you interlocked with a poem between each speaker, one of your poems was really good. Really kept the interest, I thought. And I'm not just being nice, it really did.
Well, yeah, I know. I got the feedback on the day. I mean, I had a couple of years ago, these poems just came flooding out, and they kind of narrated the whole thing. And then when Charlie said he was going to do this event, I knew that maybe I knew that's what the poems were for, because they kind of narrate it. And also, I've got a lot of experience I was a stand-up comic. I ran a theatre company. I've also been giving business seminars for the last 15 years as well. So I've got a lot of experience of putting shows together. So I did the running order because I wanted to create an event that would work for the audience. And one of the things about when you've got lots of speakers is you have to shift the energy between each one. So that's when I thought, well, let's just play the poems,
Brilliant.
And I treated it like a stand-up comedy gig. I know we talk about heavy stuff, right? But I wanted to make sure that the day was frothy and enjoyable.
Absolutely, yeah.
As well as being about, because we had no time to rehearse. And I'd not met, the only person out of all of those people that I'd met before that event was Alpa Sony.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I'd never met anybody.
No.
And, we didn't rehearse, and I don't even know how we pulled it off. But I think a big part of that was the audience, because the energy in the room was amazing, wasn't it?
It was amazing. Absolutely lovely. I mean, really was electric, wasn't it?
It was. You couldn't, I presented that show for 7 hours.
Yes. Yes, you did. Incredible. And kept your sense of humor as well, and your poor mother. But what someone said to me afterwards is that you did a road trip with her the next day and put it on but I can't find that, and said how funny it was.
Well, yeah, what I did is I went back to my mum's and sat in the garden with her, and we did a review of the show, and it's on my YouTube channel.
Oh, do you know, because they said a road trip, I saw you sat in the garden with her, and I thought, no, that's not the one, they'll be on a road trip.
No, I did a road trip, because the whole thing was a road trip, because I live in the west of Ireland.
Yeah.
I came over on the ferry, so I made it a whole week, because there's a lot of people that I've met doing this who I've not actually met.
Yes.
So I drove down to Cornwall. That was weird. I drove down to Cornwall, meet up with a healer friend called Antonia Harmon, who's an amazing healer. And we had a boozy lunch, and as we were coming out of the restaurant and walking up the hill, I bumped into Stacey Wilco, who I'd never heard of before. No. And she was walking down I mean, this is synchronicity. This is where we're at, right? We just had a 2-hour conversation about nobody being awake in Cornwall, which is not true, but perception.
Yes.
2 girls walking towards us on this road, this back street, and one of them had a T-shirt on with one of my favourite swear words on it. So I stopped to say hello, and then I showed her one of my poems that has one of my favourite swear words in it.
It's got to be one of the last ones you played on Birmingham.
Yeah. Yeah, see you next Tuesday.
Yes.
And I was speaking to her, and I played her this poem, and at the beginning of the poem it says, it's not really a poem actually, it was more of a gag, but at the beginning of it says, in the days of the plandemic. She went, "Plandemic? Are you?" And I went, "Yeah." And she went, "Well," and she'd she's been touring the UK teaching people how to get out of the system and stop paying their bills and all of this. And she'd just done a talk with 60 people the night before in Cornwall, in Newquay. I mean, a 1 in 60 million chance of bumping into her that day.
Perfect.
And it's just been like that. And then I had to drive up to the Lake Districts, and I was all over the place. But it's just been amazing to actually get off this laptop and actually meet people, and meeting you and meeting people in the 650 people that day. And I was in London I went to London on Friday, and we went to check out a much bigger venue in London, which we're going to do in September the 9th in London. Another next step.
Oh, I heard you talking about that. So yeah, great, good. Yeah, for 2,500 people.
That's the idea. Yeah. I mean, if you told me 2 years ago I'd be at that venue with that many people, I'd have laughed at you.
So how did your meet with Charlie first start then? Was that right back at the start?
What, when did I meet him in person, or?
No, in person, I know, but like, how did you get that you were the host for that event, actually, is what I mean?
Because they asked me to do it.
But you've obviously been in touch with Charlie, because he obviously, there was 37, apparently. I spoke with Mike Schindler last week. He was there. He was the fourth speaker on.
Oh, Mike Shinton.
Shinton, sorry, not Schindler. Oh, God. Yeah, Mike Shinton, last week, and he
great guy,
was one of the first 37 that was following Charlie.
Yeah, well, there was a gag I was going to do on the stage, but I didn't get the chance to do it, and that is that I first met Charlie Ward naked in the shower.
Oh, like you would.
And because I had him on my phone, and it was like just as the lockdown started, and I was like, who's this guy being positive about everything? It was really amazing, and I was like, wow. And I think he had about a couple of hundred subscribers when I first saw him, and then he just went, because he was the only person really being positive about the whole thing.
Yeah, saying it positively about things.
Yeah, and then how did I meet Charlie? I met Charlie because I went onto his Facebook page, and I could see all of these people like really worried, and I, I've been aware of this plan for 20 plus years. I've been waking up since I left the RAF 30 years ago, and that's sort of accelerated over time. And my friend died in 9/11, and I got given, I don't know if you've ever read the Celestine Prophecy, but
I've seen the film.
Well, life is like that. I mean, what I'm learning is that life is really one big initiation process, and it's like what's going on during I call this spiritual quarantine, this whole COVID period and the Great Awakening, and we're all having to face our. I'm getting. I had loads of, like, during the lockdown, I had loads of flashbacks and karmic things I had to work through, and I was having like a life review, and that's why I call my show Adventures in a Cosmic Suit, because it's really, I'm kind of like a bridge between 3D and 5D, because I'm halfway there and I'm learning as I go along, and I'm just sharing that through poetry, through videos and interviews and things like that, because I'm just sort of there to hold people's hand.
Brilliant analysis. Help
them through this process, and because we're all going through it, and we're all doing the work. I mean, nobody's better than anybody else. But with Charlie, I saw his Facebook page, and I was reading all these people terrified. They knew something was wrong, but they didn't know what to do. And I just wrote a post and said, look, guys, I just want to tell you my story, because this is what happened to me, and this is what I've been told. I mean, because I get downloads and things like that, and I was just like saying, it's going to be fine, and this is a process we have to go through, and blah, blah, blah. And then that post got like 10,000 shares or something really quickly. And then the Charlie's guys saw that and then said, we've got to get him on the channel. So I was invited on the channel when he had about 10,000 subscribers, and then it kept getting delayed. And then I went on it when he had about 90,000 subscribers. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I didn't know what I was going to talk about. And when I had the interview with him, suddenly I started talking about my earliest memory, which is like demons trying to recruit me, right? Which is a memory that I kind of suppressed, but he just blurted out. And when I finished the interview, I was like, I can't believe I just talked about that online. My business is ruined. I'm ruined. This is gonna destroy me. And then all these people started writing to me and saying the same thing happened to me. And I was like, oh, it's not just me. This is amazing. And, and I was compelled. I've been talking about SRA and New World Order for years on Facebook, lost loads of friends through all of that. But I'd not ever done it on YouTube. And I just got compelled to do it on YouTube. And
Wow.
I was on a road trip with my son one day, and I just said, let's pull over. I've got to film. I gave my son the phone and said, just hold it and film me for 20 minutes or whatever. And then that's how I started my channel.
Oh, incredible.
And then all these amazing people turned up, and it's just been it is an amazing,
Ride.
incredible, what a ride.
Isn't it though? Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. I was at a farm the other day near us. I'd been invited to a party there, and I ended up sat next to Anna de Bruchet.
Who's that?
Behave. She's the lawyer. The
Hey.
lawyer. The lawyer in. She goes to all the marches in London.
Oh, I've seen a video of her. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had. But then I'm going to do a talk with her next week. Bless her heart. Yeah, but she's very much. She has to have the evidence, complete evidence. Of course, she would not be talking about anything unless she had actual proof and evidence in front of her.
That's a very important part of this process, and she's doing a great job. Tell her I'd love to speak to her if you do.
Oh yeah, definite. Lovely. What I will say is I went to see Russell Brand about a month ago.
How was that? How was that?
Yeah, well, before I went, really interesting, and this is what it's leading on to, but before I went, I had someone message me and say, ask a question about flat Earth. And Jackie, if he doesn't talk about flat Earth, then he's controlled opposition, because he knows that we're on flat Earth. And if he's not talking about it, then he must be controlled opposition. Well, I didn't even know what controlled opposition meant. I don't actually know what that means, but anyway.
There's a lot of it.
Oh, okay, right. Well, it just put it in my mind that is he going to talk about flat Earth? And the only thing he said, and there wasn't really an opportunity for questions unless you stayed really late at the end. He was funny, very funny. He's quite a funny guy,
Yeah.
and he's doing a good job, I think. But anyway, yeah, at one point he just looked at the stage and he said, oh, this stage is really flat, isn't it? Really flat in places. He said, sometimes you wonder if you're going to fall off. And what I think he was doing there was gauging the audience to know if they wanted to hear about flat Earth or anything. I don't know, but he didn't go there because there was no reaction to that, and he just carried on with what he was talking about. So my question, and I did enjoy the evening. I didn't stay for the questions, but it was very emotional apparently for the ones that did. Yeah, nice guy. I mean, he's got a good following. I think he's doing a good job. I'm not really sure, what I really think about him. But anyway, wonder what you think about flat Earth, Mark.
Well, it's a fascinating subject.
Mm-hmm.
We're all little specks on this realm, this planet. So none of us have actually been up. I mean, I was a pilot 34 years ago, and I've never seen the spherical shape. And if you look at flat Earth versus round Earth, there's nothing that proves that it's a round Earth.
Nothing.
However, I am always asking this question of different guests, and I've interviewed lots of people that say they've been up on ships. And a well-known one, Alex Collier, is a wonderful man who says he's been up on the Andromedan ships, and he swears that it's spherical. I spoke to Michael Feely yesterday, and he's an incredible guy as well, and he says it's spherical. But then you watch something like You Are Anon and the true history of Earth, 5-hour documentary, which is extremely compelling, talks about Tartaria and flat Earth and the firmament. And there are all these different arguments. I'm not married to any idea. I'm completely open-minded. I think it's a realm that we create with our imagination. We are the creators, right? So we have the God spark inside us. And what I learned years ago, or what I realized years ago, is that we are controlled by symbols. So if you walk through London, for example, there's one symbol that you can't avoid. You can't walk 5 feet without seeing that symbol, or that symbol being near you. Do you know what that symbol is?
It's not an eye, is it?
No, it's the London Underground.
Oh, okay, right.
You can't miss it. I mean, it's the transport. It's on every bus stop. It's everywhere, right?
Right.
And that is Saturn, right? That shape is Saturn.
Oh,
And if you go and research that, you'll find in the 1930s there was a whole art exhibition in London about the London Underground logo being Saturn, right? And when you understand that, and you understand that these symbols emit a frequency, that frequency is the thing that goes into us, and then with our pineal gland or whatever, we then create the reality. So we're co-creating this reality, and the controllers of the prison planet, the farm that we live on, because it is a farm, and they feed off our energy and our blood. They I think they use us to create the reality that the prison that they want us to live in, and that is the veil. And the veil is the thing that's now dropping. And I think we're going to know. I find it funny when people argue about flat Earth versus round Earth, because it's like, well, really, does it make that much difference to us? I mean, it's just interesting. I mean, as long as you understand that we've been lied to about every single thing, then it's more likely that it is kind of flat, but it could also be toroidal.
yes.
But then you see those maps with Agartha and all this outside of the Antarctic ice wall. The firmament is referenced in the Bible. It's a confusing but fascinating subject, but I don't get upset by anybody that thinks either way,
No, nor do
because
I.
because I think both. Personally, I think it's a realm. It's a realm, and it's a bit like a computer game. When you're doing a computer game, it seems like you're going somewhere, but you're creating the streets in front of you as you drive the car.
Yeah, yeah.
But the problem is, this reality is so bloody real. But
Yes, exactly.
but I've been telling my kids it's a hologram for years, and they're going, "Shut up, Dada." But it's like, well, it's just so bloody real. But I remember David Icke, talking about the fact that everything's just atoms in at different frequencies, and that this isn't really hard. It just appears hard because of the frequency, the vibrational frequency of the atoms within the wood or whatever. But the true nature of reality is not what we think it is. That's all I know for sure. And anything the government or the education system has told us, you have to think the complete opposite.
Yes, I'm with you on that. And we were having, I do this dog walk every morning. We meet up with a friend, and unfortunately, I mentioned about flat Earth to him this morning because there was a conversation last night about it. And then, my husband's not at all with me on whatever I talk about. And so I was a bit sorry I ever mentioned it, really. But he said, it doesn't matter to me one jot if I'm on a triangle, a square, blah, blah, blah. What's the conversation? And it is just that fact that we've been lied to about everything, and that NASA's using trillions of pounds, for no particular, well, what are they using it for? And feeding us a lie, if that is,
Well, absolutely. I mean, NASA was formed and run by the Nazi scientists from Operation Paperclip in 1946. Werner von Braun and all of those guys. They knew the truth, and they've been using NASA to cover up the truth for a very long time.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the other thing that interests me, you were asked the other day about Epstein, and you think he's possibly alive, and I do.
I think, of course, he's alive.
Yeah, because he's got billions. He paid his anyway.
Well, he got given billions, but I mean, all these guys like Musk and Bezos and Zuckerberg. We've been told this bullshit about these amazing, brilliant minds that became billionaires overnight. No, they were all created, and they were all placed there as frontmen to firstly give the illusion that you can be a billionaire overnight, and secondly, to give a kind of legitimacy to these massive corporations that have been part of the plan to. I mean, if you look at Facebook's patents, I've been involved in internet marketing for 25 years. Facebook put up patents years ago talking about uploading human consciousness to the cloud. So, this transhuman agenda has been pushed through these companies for a very long time.
Where do you think we are within it all then, Mark? I mean, there is the 26,000 years that ended on the 21st of December 2012.
Yeah.
And then the new world is 2032. So we really are sort of pretty much slap bang in the middle. Do you agree with that?
Yeah. I mean, from a biblical point of view, we're in the middle of the rapture right now. It is the Great Awakening, 100%. Q is real, 100%. Where are we at? We're just in the where I think we're at is we're in the process. We're transitioning dimensions, and we are currently in a state where we've got a lot of help. For example, I mean, I see a lot of UFOs. On Saturday, I saw 30. They put on a show for me. I can call them in, and they're amazing. We've got tons of help. There are ships coming out of the sun. There's loads of videos that prove this. And I was speaking to a friend only 20 minutes ago. She's had the same download, and they're all, our galactic cousins or our future selves or different versions of us are helping us through this transition process right now. And sorry, what was the question?
I just want to go back because I'm stuck on the bit where you said there's ships coming out of the sun. Did you say that?
Yeah, the sun's a portal.
Right.
Yeah, the sun is definitely a portal. It's not a big ball of fire 93 million miles away, no question.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
But it's like it comes back to the flat Earth thing again. Again, if you go and look at the interview I did with Michael Feely yesterday, we were talking about the moon and how there's a lot of compelling evidence that the moon is actually a celestial body with monuments and pyramids and towers and buildings on it, right? But there's a load of flat Earth guys who are also compelling, saying no, it's just a plasma ball in the sky, and it's got the map of the true Earth on it in the shape, the face in the moon is actually.
Oh yeah, I've heard that.
So I mean, look. Some people might be watching this and going, "Why the fuck's this guy so cheerful about the middle of this?" Because people have died. My own grandfather died in COVID. My friend was killed by a ventilator at Christmas. It's been really difficult for a lot of people, but I totally believe. Firstly, you're an eternal soul and you can't die anyway.
Yes.
And once you realise that, life becomes a lot easier, and we have to enjoy this ride as much as we can, right? Because
and we signed up for it.
We signed up for it. That's the other thing. Absolutely, we all did. And if you allow the energies to come through you, and you open yourself up, and you start, because it's an inside job. You've got to. All the answers are actually inside us. If we meditate, or if we do, hang out in nature, go tree bathing, forest bathing, get out on the water as much as you can. And I said this 2 years ago. People said, "What are we going to do?" And I said, "Well, get out in nature and meditate and eat well and look after yourself." And is that it? And I'm like, yeah, that is it.
Oh, I'm glad you mentioned about eat well, because I was also listening to the one. You've got a really good friend that's talking about this eating plan, which is very much about meat and no bread.
Well, that's a simplified version of it, but the story is, when the lockdown happened, I'm looking at them now. I built 3 vegetable plots, and I was growing all my own veg, and I was like, okay, we've got to reclaim our sovereignty, or we've got to remember what sovereignty is. Okay, and sovereignty means being responsible for what you eat, for your health, for your wealth, for everything, spiritually, emotionally, physically, taking responsibility for that, because most of us have been brought up relying upon the state to not only tell us what to do, but also to give us, look at all the handouts they gave out during COVID. I mean, it's just too much of that, right?
Yeah.
But big part of this process is standing up for yourself and keeping an open mind to be able to reclaim your power, right? So when it all happened, I was like, right, I'm going to grow my own food and get chickens and blah blah blah, do all of that stuff. And then last year I met some guys who wrote a book called The Red Pill Revolution, which is a fantastic book I gave to my mum. It's it doesn't go as far as I go, but it's a very good summary of what's been going on for somebody that has no idea, but is open, but gets a feeling that there's something wrong, but doesn't understand what it is. I mean, everybody should go and read David Icke's books if you want to know what's really going on for the majority of the information, but a lot of that is too much for people, which is why they take the piss out of him for the lizards and all that. Even though he's right, they he gets ridiculed with one idea. Same as flat Earth. Oh, you're a flat earther, therefore I don't believe anything else you say.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, one of the authors of that book is called Jeremy Ayres, and one of the first people I went to see when I could travel was I went to see Jeremy in the Lake Districts, and Jeremy has had an amazing journey, and over the last 30 years, he's become a world renowned natural healer. And the majority of his private patients are people that have been given a diagnosis of terminal cancer or something terminal, right? And he brings most of those back from the brink and into pure health, and including his current wife. Now, I met his wife. She had terminal cancer when they met 12 years ago. She had 3 months to live when they met. And when you look at this, and I got to know these people, and I was like, this is really interesting. But I went to visit him again, and he could see that I was adrenally fatigued because all of this stuff, going online and stuff, it actually took quite a lot of energy to do. And I've been under spiritual, demonic attacks and all unbelievable attacks from all angles. I mean, I had my fuel line cut on my car. I had my PayPal account closed down, my YouTube account closed down, my Facebook I've been locked out of for 6 months. I mean, and literal demons on my back, witches, covens attacking. I mean, just crazy shit, right?
Right. Yeah.
So the whole thing was taking a toll on me. And he said, "Look, you look spiritually strong, but physically and emotionally, you need some help." And he was tired as well. And he said, "Look, I have this protocol that I give to my private clients. I'm going to challenge you to do it for 30 days. Sorry, 90 days." And he said this to me just before over Christmas. And I knew that I needed to do something, so I agreed to do it. I said, "I'll do it." And then I said, well, maybe we should get some people to join us. And he said, "Okay, how many do you think?" I said, "Maybe 50 people." We've got 1,200 people doing it with us. It's called Maximize the Light in Your Cosmic Suit in 90 Days. You go to the markattwoodshow.com and you'll see a link to a webinar that explains what's in it. It's not about eating meat, but that's part of it.
Yes.
And believe me, that is the most content. I could talk about flat earth, satanic ritual abuse, New World Order all day long. Nothing gets as much of a kickback than when you start talking about meat. Because
I know. It's so difficult, isn't it?
and I understand why.
Oh,
Because
yeah, so do I.
I love animals.
Yeah,
Right?
I do.
I absolutely. That's why I was a vegan.
Yes. Yeah.
But vegans, we've been conned, and it's a very complicated question. And really, what we talk about in the Maximize the Light protocol is not just about what you eat, and I'll come back to that in a minute, but it's also about circadian rhythms, living in harmony with the moon. It's about blue light. It's about sleeping right. It's about intermittent fasting. It's about lots of things. And the course that we did it over 90 days. There's like 20 hours of videos explaining all the protocols and answering all the questions. So it's not something I can explain in 5 minutes. There's also 10 hours of video diaries of me going through the process. I've personally lost 15 kilograms. I've never had more energy. I feel amazing. The healing that we've seen on the program from people is just incredible. People that couldn't get up the stairs are now running up the stairs. People who had diabetes, my friend joined it 2 months ago and he's lost 90 pounds and his diabetes is reversed and he's come off his steroid tablets and all his medications.
Oh, incredible.
And this is what it's about. It's about healing. And, if you're going to get bogged down with the meat question, it's a bit difficult, but
absolutely. My friend, though, she for 3 years was a vegan and was so ill. And so she started eating meat again. And she's,
Well, what we have to understand, that we have to get away from the question about the consciousness of the animals, and what you have to move toward, because that's what locks most people into veganism.
Yes.
And I get that 100%.
Yes.
And I fully appreciate that because I've been there myself. But what we have to understand is that every single thing in our world has been weaponized against us.
Yes.
From our shoes, which stop us connecting to the earth, to the chemtrails, to the fluoride and all the shit in the water, to the electricity in our houses, to the paint in our houses, to the carpets. Everything is toxic. And we are incredibly toxic because that's what they want us to be, toxic. They want, we are farmyard animals and they don't want us to live too long. I think our true lifespans in the hundreds of years.
Oh, hundreds of years ago it was.
Yeah, I mean, you go and look at the Hunza tribe in Afghanistan. The average age of death there in the 1950s was 120.
Yeah.
Because they lived a natural life and they all had their own teeth and long hair when they died. We're just really toxic. So the protocol that we talk about in that program is really about what we stop eating. Because if you think about bread, for example, Bread is, I love bread, especially sourdough toasted with butter. I mean, my God, it's one of my favorite things. But I've not eaten any of that in 6 months. But if you think about it, pretty much all of the wheat that we're eating is, firstly, it's genetically modified. Secondly, it's sprayed with pesticides to within an inch of its life. And thirdly, it's made with poisonous water. I mean, it's pure poison. And it creates this dopamine hit when we eat it, so we get addicted to it. And it's killing us. It's literally killing us. And it's the same with vegetables. And that's a really,
Vegetables.
yeah. Vegetables contain the least amount of toxins you'll get in a vegetable is about, I think I heard it was 80 different toxins. But the one thing people need to look up is the word oxalates. Once I understood what an oxalate was, I've stayed away from vegetables because, and think of it this way: the government lies about everything and always has done. The word government means mind control. Ment is mind, govern, control. Mind control,
Yeah,
government, right?
yeah.
Once we fully understand that, what have they been saying for 30 years? You must have five a day. Do they want us dead or alive? They want us dead. So if they're telling us to have five a day, do the opposite. Vegetables don't want to be eaten. They can't run away. So they are full of toxins. So that's another, this is a big mind shift for people.
Good grief. So you're not eating vegetables?
I've eaten nothing but fatty meat, fish, oily fish, eggs and butter. That's all I've eaten for 6 months now.
And there's us feeling guilty if we have butter, if we have eggs, if we have any of that.
Because that's why they did the salmonella thing, Edwina curry, all of that, stop you eating eggs. That's why they told us saturated fat was giving you heart disease. It's the opposite. Everything's the opposite. It's an inverted world. Remember, this world is run by satanic psychopaths. And the pentagram is the inverted star. Everything is inverted. Everything. That's why they're doing all this gender shit and they're doing all this divide and conquer stuff. Everything is a lie. And once you get that, and once you open your mind up to that idea, you have to question everything because we've been programmed by Satanists.
I know. And the thing is, when you say they want us dead, I didn't understand that, because if it's the pharmaceutical companies that are like billionaires, billion trillionaires, then why would they want us? Because we're their customers. But actually, apparently, if we die, where we've been traded on the stock market in gold from the time we were born, we're worth so much dead to them, because we don't know about that one that we've been traded on.
Yeah, I mean, I found my, I can't remember the website. Please don't ask me because I think it got taken down. But I found there was a website where you could actually go and put in your national insurance number and find out how many times your birth certificate had been traded. And mine had been traded 37,000 times since my birth. And if it made $10 profit per trade, I'm owed at least $3.7 million. And that's the same with all of us. We all. But the other thing we need to get away from is this idea that they do it for money. They print and control all the money anyway.
Yes.
It's all a con. That's where people go wrong. They think, oh, but why would they do that? Because they won't make any money if they get rid of us. They don't care. They own all the money. They own and control all the money. I mean, I studied economics for 5 years, and nobody once mentioned the fractional reserve banking system to me. And everybody needs to study that. Everybody needs to understand what fractional reserve banking is, because money is the number one tool of our enslavement. And you can go, if you sign up to my email list, I send you a free copy of a book called The Creature from Jekyll Island by G. Edward Griffin. Everybody should read it. G. Edward Griffin wrote the story of how the Federal Reserve was created in 1913 when they took it over, when they sunk the Titanic and killed all the people that were against their takeover of the Federal Reserve. I mean, America was taken over in 1871 with the creation of the Corporation of the United States and then the false constitution. And, we've just been completely hoodwinked, and they get away with it because they keep us busy. They keep us busy with football, with television, mind control. The whole planet has been MK Ultra'd. But some people are more resistant to it than others. But, I was telling people 10 years ago, literally turn off your TV, get it out. I've not watched TV in 10 years. I mean,
Brilliant. Good.
And most everybody that I've met that's awake doesn't watch the TV,
No.
or doesn't read the papers, or doesn't take what they read in the papers.
Well, I must say, like, I don't watch it now, but when we went on holiday back in, I don't know if it was March, we went over the Isle of Wight for a week. And so I was in the same room that, the telly was on a lot. And so I saw the adverts, and the adverts, they're, oh my gosh, telling you 1 in 2 are going to die from something beginning with C, which is so, how many people are thinking, oh, I'll be that one, or, just disgusting.
Well, look what they did in the last year when they brought out all these adverts on the TV and on buses, trying to teach us that it's normal for kids to collapse and have heart attacks after they've given the,
Yeah, yeah.
and then what happens is people think that's normal. No, it isn't.
Nothing's normal like that.
No,
Nothing.
no.
Oh my God. I just want to go back to where you said about our demons on the back. When you first met him and now you're much better. I understand that. But how did you get rid of because we've all got, or I don't say we've all got attachments, but we can have if we're not protecting ourselves.
No, we've all had attachments. We've all been demonically possessed.
Yes.
Everybody on the planet.
And we don't even realize that's what's causing our illness at sometimes.
That's right. I mean, this is Satan's world, right? And we've all been demonically possessed. But worse than that, we've had many of our talents and abilities stolen from us. Multidimensionally, we're multidimensional beings, right? This is just 3D. This is a point of attention that we're in right now. But we're eternal souls and spirits that exist on multiple dimensions at the same time. And what they do is they send in these minions, like the Greys, for example, which are essentially non-living organisms that they use to do their dirty work, and they steal things from you. So they might steal your telekinesis ability or your psychic abilities, and they'll go and hide it. And and your soul is fragmented. We're a mess, but we chose to come here because we chose to come here to help the transition. And so a big part of my journey has been to get all my soul bits back together, remember these things. And I've had so many healers in the last, because I was 4 years ago, I was suicidal.
Oh my God.
I was at the brink of suicide, and I couldn't see. It was like Groundhog Day. Every day, all I remember is waking up in the shower going, "All right, here we go again." And I was drinking loads, and I was really, I thought I'd lost everything. And then, I also spent 25 years being an atheist.
Yes.
Because I couldn't believe how cruel the world was and blah, blah, blah. But then God pulled me back. Whatever you think God is, but
yeah.
I got pulled back from the brink, and I got asked 2 questions. I was like, firstly, are you willing to let go of everything? And I said, everything? And he said, yeah. And I was like, well, I've got 5 children. He was like, you have to be willing to let go of everything. And I was like, okay. And secondly, you've got a job to do. Do you want to do it? And I was like, okay. And I think what I learned from that is that we have to be willing to let go of everything in order for things to come back. Because because what we have, the programming that we've all been under, and the demonic attachments, we have to let them go.
Mm-hmm.
And then we rebuild with the right ingredients.
Wow. You're absolutely right. So how would you recommend anyone? I'm seeing someone actually on Thursday that brings soul fragments back. Yeah.
Very important. And there's so many healers around the world. And I've tried to interview as many as I can online, and I've been privileged to meet lots of them, and there's so many beautiful, brilliant people doing
honestly is yeah. What would you recommend? So what you're saying is we've all had those attachments, we've all got things going on. What for protection, for our own protection, is it like something we can just do within our mind, asking for protection?
Yeah, I got, as I said earlier about the whole life being an initiation. It was about 10 years ago. This guy was ringing. I had a business in Manchester, and this guy kept ringing my office, and I was resisting him, right? It was really interesting looking back on it, and I kept fobbing him off. And it was this guy called Jim from near Liverpool, and he'd been given my name by somebody else, and he was extremely psychic, and he knew. I found out later that he knew who I was, and I don't mean this in any egotistical way, but it might come across that way, but I don't mean it to be, but because I'm talking about different timelines here. But anyway, it was this old guy who'd been his job on Earth. I mean, from a Dolores Cannon point of view, he was one of the early ones that came in to clear souls away that were stuck. So
Right.
so
Yeah.
he one of his jobs. He told me stories about how he'd been down to Hastings, and there were still souls there from 1066 wandering around that didn't know where they were. So he had to, clear them away. So this clearance thing has been going on for a very long time, and I used to meet with him, and he was basically developing my psychic abilities. So I'd meet him in different places, and he'd ask me if I could see these spirits and stuff. And he was kind of he was like Obi-Wan Kenobi. But anyway, he taught me this really simple technique that anybody can do. And what he said was, look, as soon as you feel, because you can feel it if you tune in, that and we've all got this ability. We've just been numbed away from it. So
Yes.
drinking good water, for example, and being in nature, these things help tune you in. Sitting next to a tree, hugging trees, all of that work, it helps cleanse you. And these are simple, free things, right? You don't need to. I spend loads of money on gadgets and things. I mean, this is one thing I used to clear.
Oh, I got one.
Yeah, they're brilliant, right? Um, so this is a very simple technique. He said, look, imagine a bell-shaped jar, and it's sealed across the bottom, and you're inside it. Okay,
Yeah.
that's what you do. You imagine that you're inside the bell-shaped jar. Some people have snow globes or different ideas, but anyway, I'm just going to teach you what he taught me.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're inside the bell jar, and you imagine it being filled with divine light. So it's flooded with divine light coming in from the top. So the whole thing is sealed, and you are full of divine light inside it. And then you imagine that the whole thing's coated in silver, and that any negative energy that's sent towards you is returned to sender or sent into the light. And one other thing is, when I first started doing this, I found myself in my mind levitating. If that happens to you when you do it, you need to imagine a purple rope tying your feet to the ground, and that's it, And I'd be driving along with him, and he could feel the spirits, these bad spirits coming at him, and he'd just be doing it all the time. And I was like, this guy's nuts. But as time went by, um, I started remembering it and feeling these attacks, and then using it, and it's very powerful. It's very simple. We're very powerful. You
We
know,
are. Yes.
Alex Collier, the Andromedan contactee, says that we are considered to be genetic royalty, and that we're made from 22 different species. And this idea that they tell us we have 97% junk DNA.
Yeah.
Junk DNA? Why does anybody buy that bullshit? It's just it's deactivated DNA, and when that gets activated, that's when all these skills come in, all these superpowers, like telekinesis and psychic abilities and levitation. I think all of these things we have within us, and that's why we've got so much help coming, or here. It
Fantastic.
has been here for a long time.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm an apocalyptimist.
An apocalyptimist.
Yeah,
Eh,
we were in the middle of the apocalypse, which just means great revealing. But I'm extremely optimistic about the outcome.
Oh, amazing. I love that. Yeah. Oh, I love that word. I was thinking I've got to write that down and look it up.
Well, I heard it from somebody. It's not my word, but I've latched onto it because it's exactly. I've been optimistic. I mean, even when I was suicidal, I was optimistic. I've always been an optimist,
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely
and I
brilliant.
believe I believe in the human spirit. And once you realise that we are connected to this incredible other realms, these other dimensions, and you can't ignore it. I get truth vibrations and downloads and knowings and things like this, and the ship that I saw last year completely anchored me, because I saw a spaceship that was huge, and it was beautiful, and the feeling from it was beautiful, and it showed itself deliberately to me so that it would anchor me so that I could carry on doing what I'm doing with confidence, because the attacks that we get by talking about this stuff are incredible, and But I was.
I put on a show for AJ Roberts. You know AJ Roberts.
Oh, God, yeah. If I wanted, I emailed him at Christmas and then I forgot. I've not got back to him because it's been so crazy. He's doing great work.
He's doing great work, absolutely. So we put on a thing for him in Brockenhurst, I don't know, 3 months ago, it might be now. Had a really lovely turnout, 250 people. It was very, really
That's
good
great.
evening. But one of his very best friends, Steve Forsyth, who's a really lovely, lovely guy. It was through him that I met Anna de Bruchet. But anyway, Steve got on stage with him at the end, and he was having a psychic attack from the woman that had been sat next to him.
Yeah.
And he actually couldn't get his breath and he couldn't speak.
Yeah.
And someone the next day, we were talking about it because it really frightened people, because he said, you know who you are. And like it was a bit shocking because we didn't know what to do. And I had to say, we'll bring the evening to a close. But anyway, but this girl said to me afterwards, that was a gift to all of us to show, how easily that can, and what to do about it.
Well, the other thing, well, firstly, psychic attacks are absolutely real. Absolutely. But the other thing that everybody can do is just call in Archangel Michael.
Yes,
They
easily.
they can only come in. He's come in. They can
Oh,
only.
he has. I've goosed
Yeah,
completely.
I've got him now. Can only come in when you ask them and you give them permission,
Oh,
right? And when you do, they come straight in and they clear it all straight up. They want to help, and I just do it with love, gratitude, and respect, and thank you. And I ask them to come in and clear, 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 because it's been going on all the time. And what I've been saying to people is, it's it's a period of spiritual quarantine when we've got this opportunity to reconnect and find out who we really are, remember who we really are. And it's a wonderful process when you do that. And all of these attacks, spiritually, trolls, whatever, friends and family, falling out of friends and family, all the stuff that people are going through and have been through, from my perspective, what they're doing is all of those experiences are tempering us in the same way that you temper steel.
mhm.
And we're just getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And the thing that I learned a long time ago was that everything is exactly as it's meant to be. And people find it really struggle with that, especially if they're going through a hard time. But the thing is, all the hard times that we're going through, we have called in.
Yes.
We've called it in because our soul, we chose to go through this hardship in order to become stronger and to graduate and, go to the next level.
Yeah.
And it's like a computer game in that respect. And if you can start viewing it like that, then you can start enjoying it. I mean, it's a bit like when I was in the military. I really enjoyed assault courses. Right?
Cool.
Some people hated them,
Yeah.
and they were hard,
Yeah.
but nothing felt better than finishing or climbing mountains. Climbing a mountain is not easy.
No,
But
no.
how do you feel when you get to the top?
Oh, elated.
Feel amazing, and
Yeah.
that's what I hang on to. It's that feeling at the end, and also enjoying the journey. What we have to do, I think, is learn to enjoy the journey, however difficult it is.
Have you heard of Ho'oponopono, Mark?
Yeah. I'm about to record a version of that.
Are you really? Because
Yeah.
that's my favourite sort of, I've done the course in it, and so that helps me no end. Is really just love it, love it.
Well, a lot of what's going on at the moment, well, all of it, I call it frequency matching. You hear the message, the teacher appears when the student's ready, all right?
Yeah.
There are some people with millions of people following them because they're talking at the level that those people need to hear. And there's
Yeah.
other people like me with much smaller audiences, but I'm talking at a level that they need to hear. And it's all about you find the person that you need to find when you're ready to find them.
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, I'm very glad I found you.
Well, I'm very glad I found you.
Honestly, thank you, Mark.
That's all right. I mean, that event in Birmingham was. I was speaking to somebody yesterday, I think it was. He said that there was like a psychic attack, or there was something in the building, and somebody came up to me just before I went on stage saying, "Oh, there's some bad energy in here," and I said, "Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it," because I knew I was there to just spread light, and most of the people there were, and that darkness cannot survive in the light.
That's a fact.
Which is also why I think it's so important that we have these gatherings now, because what it reinforces all of those. Sorry about that noise. It reinforces all the strength that we've actually got, and it's
Yes.
so good. I mean, I gave out free hugs all day. I must have given out about 300 hugs that day.
Well, I managed to get one.
Yeah. I don't remember, nothing personal, but I don't remember all of them because I
No,
was.
no, no. No, well, I was taking a picture and I had the camera on video, and you said, "Oh, is it video or something like that?" And so I didn't capture a picture. I did get the video though.
Oh, that's good. Oh,
Yeah.
good, good, because a hug goes a long way. You know.
Oh, without a doubt. Well, we're a stand in the park in Lyndhurst, in the New Forest, and that whole community is just incredible. I mean, they put on something most days of the week nearly now. I mean, it's just so we really are in person again and loving being together and, supporting each other with ideas of what we need to do if anything got tough or.
Well, it can't be overstated how important it is to, get back in touch with human contact. And it might feel like you're not achieving anything, but all you've got to do is open a door for somebody, um, do an old person's shopping, pay somebody's bill if they've not got enough money, give somebody a hug. Because every time we do those little things, we raise the vibrational frequency of the planet. And what's the planet is waiting for the human race to get to a certain level of consciousness. And then I think that's what's going to trigger the event. And I think there is an event coming, and I think it's going to be mind blowing.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, it feels exciting, doesn't it? I've goosed actually while you said that.
Yeah.
So there's some truth to that. Yeah.
Well, I think so. But anybody, you're going to find it yourself. Watch if you're watching this, you find your own truth. And
Without.
the other thing is, don't have gurus.
No.
Forget gurus. Don't give anybody 100% attention. Just take what resonates. Move along. There's a lot of people going, oh, this person's just doing it for the money, or this, but so just leave them alone. Just ignore them. You know,
Absolutely.
move on.
I will just say, I've got a friend, Nick Leclerc, and he's found out that saying to be sovereign actually means to rule over the sleeping. And I didn't know that, but he's looked at that word and it means to rule over the sleeping. So he didn't particularly like that. So he now calls himself a liberator, or we're liberators of ourselves.
Well, yeah, look, I agree with that too. I mean,
Yeah, well, we're learning all the time, but whether that's true or not, well, you're saying sovereign and so will I, for the meaning of what it means, because it took me about a year ago, I heard that word and I didn't know what it meant. And it's taken me all that time to understand it. Got to the point that I felt I understood it. And he's saying, no, it means that. So you're now a liberator. But it's whatever it means for you. And to be sovereign is to be free and free thinking. And
well, for me, it just means taking responsibility for every aspect of your life, and every one of us is a king, a queen, right?
yes,
And it's not those fuckers took that from us, and I don't know if they took it. We gave it to them, and this is what this is all about. We're giving consent. The whole legal system is based upon us giving consent, but they've hoodwinked us, and we're starting to see through that, starting to understand what the birth certificate actually is, starting to understand what legalese is. Everybody should look at legalese and start to realize if a policeman says, "Do you understand me?" He's actually saying, "Do you agree to stand under me?" And once you say yes, you've entered the contract. Then they've got you. We need to. This is what whether you call it liberation or sovereignty. I think it's a bit like words are spells,
oh,
right?
without a doubt, I've got the book. Yeah,
Yeah. The word spelling is called spelling deliberately because that's what it is, and your friend is correct. But it's really about the intention. So
exactly.
if the intention behind the word is right, then words can mean anything.
Because they say don't say good morning because it means you're going into mourning.
Yeah,
Well, if you're saying it with saying good morning because I'm pleased to see you, it's the intention.
yeah. But if you don't know that, then you're falling into their trap. So yeah, he's right, but I also think you're right, and in the middle of all of this, we're all going.
We have to find our own rightness. Yeah.
Yeah, and not and don't bicker. Just take in the ideas, and then see what resonates, and then move forward with that, and just do your best to find out who you really are. And the way you do that is turn off the TV, walk in nature, and eat well. There's a good start.
Marvelous. What a lovely chat, Mark. Thank you so much.
And if you need cheering up, come to my channel and watch my poems.
Well, I will. Yeah.
That's what they're written for. I mean,
Yeah.
these poems have saved lives. I think I've cleared thousands of years of karma with these poems, and I'm very privileged to be able to do that.
I'll
Yeah.
put one up on my channel after this, just to let people. Probably not the one we talked about earlier, that the girl in Cornwall. Oh, I tell you what, I saw somebody with a t-shirt on. Well, it was a picture. And she had written on the back of her t-shirt, I've been diagnosed with common bloody sense.
Good on him. Yeah, well, you know, my dad drummed common sense into me when I was a kid, and there's so little of it around these days.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. But as long as we can smile, yeah, keep our vibrations high, think we are light, like you say, and yeah, it's a pretty good world, isn't it?
A smile goes a long, long way.
Without a doubt. Yeah. Thank you, Mark. Hope we can have another chat again later.
Well, you take care of yourself. Lovely to see you.
And you. Thank you so much.
Cheers. Bye.
Thanks, anyone watching.